This is the training video for pre-fire plans. This is the intro. If you'll see in the next slide, there'll be a timestamp. What I want you guys to understand is if you're listening to this video for the first time, please listen to the whole video all the way through. This is a long video. It's about 2.5 hours long. Do not listen to this whole video in one sitting. Split it up, do maybe 2 or 3 shifts, but there's a lot of information, a lot of good information in this video for pre-fire plans. So just be sure that you're listening to the whole thing the first time through. The timestamps are just for training here and out. Whenever you're doing your pre-fire plans, you just want to jump to a certain portion. That's why the timestamps are there. I want you to be able to use this as training. Please take time and use this as informational. I know some of it may be redundant, some of it may be boring, but the first time that we do this, if we do it right the first time, you won't have to do it again. Okay? Feel free to ask me questions whenever you see me. Make sure it's not on the video first. Also, if you want to ask me questions, ask yourselves as a shift first to see if anybody else may know the answer. If not, I would like to, if everybody needs me to answer the question, I would like to do it as a shift, not just as one person. There's going to be a two-phase step on assigning businesses. The first step is the paper copies that we have, we're going to have assigned, and basically the businesses that are already in Elite will be assigned to you'll be assigned to a certain block. We'll get into that moving forward, or you'll have a certain number of businesses. They're all going to be electronic. All you have to do is type in your block, and we'll get into that. And lastly, I want to jump into this before I jump into the intro of jumping into Elite. Is know that I'm new to this. I know that some things I slightly repeat. Some things may jump around a little bit. And please understand this is not professional video. This is only for informational purposes and for training to help do our pre-fire plans better. Hey guys, Tucker here. It's first attempt doing a voiceover with screen grab, so it's going to be kind of rough and edgy, but I wanted to do it this way for a couple of different reasons of how to do these pre-fire plans. So luckily you get to hear my voice for the next hour or so. Doing these voiceovers is not easy because I don't think anybody likes to hear their own voice. But a couple things to note before we get started. I want you to know, with it being my first time, there is some background noise. You will be able to hear cars passing by because I'm doing this at my house, and where my desk is located is probably about 30 feet from Highway 27. So it doesn't affect my voice, but it will affect, you can still hear it coming by. I mean, this is not a studio, and I'm not doing this for quality. I'm just doing it for the quality of being able to teach you guys how to do these pre-fire plans correctly. Also, you'll hear my chair in the background, even though it's been greased. I'm not the lightest of individuals, so if you hear this, that's my chair. I'm not passing gas or anything like that, but that's just my chair. I'm gonna show up right here. There's gonna be a text box that's gonna pop up, and this is gonna show you the sections. I want you to pause the video if you don't want to go through this whole video. If this is your first time going through the video, please listen to the whole thing. But the sections are broke down. If you want to go to a specific part of the video and see how something is done, I have put timestamps there to where you can just forward to the part that you need to get to learn how to do something. So why am I doing the video this way instead of coming out and teaching you guys in purpose or in person? Is I want to improve the consistency of training between all 3 shifts. I went and did overtime with Danny a few weeks back, and I went over the pre-fire plans with him and everything that I've learned and what Elite's been asking us, and it took about 3.5 hours for me to go through it from beginning to end. Now, I mean, it's not necessarily the most entertaining, but this includes our work, something that we're supposed to be doing year in and year out. So I'm hoping what you find here is actually somewhat entertaining to an extent of being able to do your job better. Also, why am I doing it this way is because it's hard to tell 3 different times exactly the same 3 different ways of how to do these pre-fire plans. I'm going to forget something. I'm going to forget to tell you something a different way, and I may tell you something differently than I tell another shift. So why not just do this video if I learn how to do it? So also, when I come out and teach you guys, you have your computers in front of you. You can do it all. You can do it all while I'm there, but you're not going to remember everything. And I understand that. And, you're going to forget some small detail of how in the world did he show me how to do that. Well, it's on the video now, so you can just access this video anytime you want to. Another reason why I'm doing it this way is because I want everyone to be able to know how to do pre-fire plans, even if you've been at work for 2 weeks or you've been at work for 18 years. You know, there's no excuses anymore. A lot of times I hear going around from station to station doing various things, and somebody says, "Well, I don't know how to do that, so I just put that on from somebody else." Well, we're running short on staffing right now, so this, as much as anybody can do it, sharing the load between everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a captain, it doesn't matter if you're a chief, it doesn't matter if you're a brand new firefighter. You know, everybody knows how to do this, so we can share in the load. The reason why that's important of everybody being able to know how to do it is because if you tell somebody, "Hey, I don't know how to do this," well, you're not going to be able to access it for yourself whenever you need the information. The other thing is we're probably going to have a good bit of new guys coming in here within the next year, seeing how the fire department is headed. It's headed in an upward fashion. It's going in a good direction. So we're going to have new guys coming in. So we're going to need to be able to know how to teach these guys. And even though this video is here, it is helpful for you to know how to do it for your own good, to be able to teach these guys one-on-one firsthand, to where they can depend on you of how to teach them how to do their job correctly. The big thing is this is what I look forward to, is we're doing a lot of this work now, being able to change these pre-fire plans. And I know it's a lot of work, putting in a lot of information, but the more work we put in right now, this year and next year specifically, and the work that we had put in last year on pre-fire plans, the less work that we're going to have to do moving forward. And it will be less work, but we're going to have a better product with the pre-fire plans. So if your job's easier, it takes less time and it takes less effort, but you have a better product, then why not do it? So in this video, I'm going to do a step-by-step walkthrough from signing into Elite to the more specific things of how to be able to access Street View on your hydrants and to be able to measure buildings and stuff like that. I'm going to go through the whole thing. And I know that some of you already know how to do this, and I'm not trying to say, "Hey, I don't think you're an idiot or anything, or you're not smart enough to be able to access this stuff." But just in case there's somebody there that doesn't know how to do it, then it hits all the points, everything at one time. From last year to this year, I've been in Elite messing around with the pre-fire plans, trying to figure out what's going on with them, trying to figure out how we need to enter it in. And I've kind of learned some do's and don'ts of what we need to do with Elite. Still don't know everything. There's still some tabs that I'm trying to figure out. And hopefully by next year, we may add them. It may be something to where we may not even worry about anymore. But that's going to be a part of the learning process of this. I've learned what Elite is asking us. I've learned what it's trying to ask us, as far as specifically the pre-fire plans of what we need to be asking, what we need to be looking for whenever we go out to businesses. Also, I'm going to go over occupant info within pre-fire plans. And I know just stating occupant info, some of you probably shake your head and why we're using it wrong, and probably why it's about to go away with for the large majority of our pre-fire plans. It still will be used, but not in the aspect in which we're using it. And when you see what I'm talking about, you're probably going to be like, "Okay, well, that makes sense." And that does show why we should be using it this way. So with all the bad news or the work that we're about to put in, I'm about to give you some good news. The drawings that we did last year, if you did a good drawing, and if it is a good drawing, you don't have to redo it anymore. It's good to go. Also good news is I found out a way to where we can look at overview of these pre-fire plans on one page or on one single screen, to where it's not broken down into single sections. You will be able to access context quickly. You'll be able to access building info quickly. You will be able to access hydrant location quickly. So that's another part of why I'm doing this pre-fire plan step by step. This year, when we start pre-fire plans, when we hand everybody their pre-fire plans, we're going to start with the existing pre-fire plans that are in Elite. That's not going to be all the businesses that we're going to do, because there's a lot of new businesses that we haven't touched on yet, because we have been using paper copies year to year and not updating the new businesses, and some things have fell through the cracks. The other part of the good news is that we're not necessarily going to be doing pre-fire plans with a set date anymore. The only date that we're going to be worried about is you have a whole year to do your pre-fire plans. You start January 1, you go through December 31st, and you have the whole time to do it. So without delaying any further, this is the introduction. The next step is we're going to be signing in to Elite. All right, so sign into Elite like normal. No difference here. what we're going to do is we're going to make our way to the pre-fire plans. Pulls up just like any time before. So the reason why I'm actually showing you from the beginning is because I want to show you the tabs just in case you're trying to do this but you don't know how. All these tabs up here are the same except for this one. This tab will change whenever you change different avenues you want to go to on Elite. Basically, it'll change to incidences whenever you go to MS Fire. It'll change to checklists whenever you do your morning checklists, and then it'll change to locations and operations whenever you want to go to locations. So for this one, we can do everything that we need to do under View Existing. You shouldn't have to create new. So if you go to View Existing Locations, that's the only thing you'll ever have to go to. And the reason why you do that is because when you do that, it'll pull up all the businesses that we have in Elite for pre-fire plans. It'll have them all right here, ordered by location name to start off with, but we can hit new if we want to do new. So there's no difference whenever you're trying to log in. This is basically the first thing that you're going to do when you log in to Elite. If I want to search and filter through the businesses, I can do it a number of different ways. You have to remember that you can only search what the computer has been put in. So if we want to search, to say for instance, Dirt Cheap, which they're about to go out of business, you have to make sure that you don't mistype it or misspell it or put an apostrophe in there whenever there's not supposed to be an apostrophe, because if you do that, if you go to search for it, then you may not be able to. So we can pretty much search this list based on anything that we want to do out of this column. I can do it by code, location name, property use, the address, the city, the postal code, even by the phone number or the county. So city, postal code, county, all that's going to be the same for every business, so we really can't use that. We can search by address if we have it. The big thing is we're going to show you how to search through code, which the code's going to be entered in for blocks, basically. Now, how these blocks are going to be separated is still be determined. But basically, there's going to be 9 different blocks or 9 different designations, basically one for each station and each shift. So 3 shifts, 3 stations, 9 different blocks. Each officer will be responsible for their own block each year. Each year, you may have the same block as last year, or you may be getting a different block, but chances are the blocks are going to will stay the same based on station. We're not going to ask Dowling to go do a Chancey block way out near the gate. Vice versa, we're not going to ask Chancey to go out to AB Stubbs and do a block out there. It's just not going to work like that. Now, you're probably not going to find too many commercial businesses on AB Stubbs Road, but just in case there is in the future, just giving you an example. Searching by code will be probably the primary way that we're going to be searching through businesses moving forward in the future. Once all the businesses have been entered in and all the after all the pre-fire plans have been moving forward, there is a way that you can search specifically by your code. Say that you have been assigned A3, which we did, to begin with, we did A shift station 3, right? Now this code can be designated as any code that we assign to, but if I type in A3 and hit go, it'll pull up, again, it'll pull up all the A3s over here to the side. Now it's not just searching this code field whenever I type in this search. Again, like I'd mentioned before, it's searching the whole field over here of this whenever I'm looking for it. So that's why this will be specific, not just A3, but it'll be specific as Dowling-1, Dowling-2, Dowling-3. After confirming with Danny, since he's going to be the one that kind of sets the precedences of the structure for the most part of these pre-fire plans, the codes moving forward for each businesses, or for the businesses for each shift, will be the Dowling-1, Dowling-2, Dowling-3. You have Chancey-1, Chancey-2, Chancey-3. And then you'll have Station 3-1, Station 3-2, Station 3-3. It's not going to be A, B, or C because we're not designating the pre-fire plans as A, B, or C shift. Like I said, it's more or less we're doing a block each year. So A shift will have block 1 this first year as an example. That's not confirmed. And then B shift will have, say, block 3 this year. And then C shift will have block 2 this year. So if you're at Chancey, you're going to do, if you're at Chancey A shift, you're going to Chancey-1. And then same way with B shift. If you're B shift Chancey, you're going to do Chancey-3. And this will be sent out. I'll tell Danny, I said probably the best way to do this is to send out an email to your officers and your sergeants and your captains and even the chiefs. And you can really send it out to everybody. That way everybody knows which block each person is doing. It's very simplified. Also, the reason why that's important is whenever we're calling our businesses, maybe we're calling them from the station, and they call back and they're saying, hey, this is so-and-so over here at Monaco's. I had somebody call me the other day from the fire department asking me about business plans. And you're like, okay, hold on just a second. You can pull up Monaco's, and over here in the code section, it'll say Dowling, Chancey, or Station 3, and it'll have a block next to it. You're like, okay, I know exactly who that was. I'll give them the message. They're not here today. They can call you back whenever they come on shift. This is why they were calling you, and it relays information better to the businesses to keep them on pace, keep them on pace with us, to where we're not confusing them at all. Because I think the hardest thing is whenever we're trying to get up with these businesses, is we're not there every day as an 8 to 5 like they are Monday through Friday, and even sometimes they're at the businesses 7 days a week. Sometimes they may contact us outside of our time that we're there. So let me show you an example of this real quick. It's the same way what I just showed you, and instead of saying A3, it'd be Chancey-1 and hit go. And look right here, there's only one business that I put under this code right here. You do that. But just say that you're on A shift Chancey, and right now that would be Lieutenant Helms. Helms gets the email. He tells his guys, hey guys, we got Chancey-1 this year. That's our block for pre-fire plans. He would log in here just how I showed you guys. He would go up here to the search column, and he would either say he wants to start with searching with Chancey, or he wants to contains Chancey-1. And then he would hit go, and it would pull up all the businesses right here. And even more so, at the bottom of the page, it's going to let you know how many businesses you have without having to count them. And that way you already know, because you're either going to have 3 or 4 people at that station with you. You can already divvy up how many each person is going to be doing. So you could be doing multiple pre-fire plans at one time, because the eventual goal of this is to do the vast majority of the mundane year-to-year update at the station over the phone. And then if we need to go and talk to them in person, or update information in person, or do training, we can do that at the end of pre-fire plans whenever all the information is put in, and it just streamlines everything to where we can get it done as quickly as possible. Or, as I said earlier in the intro, we don't have a certain amount of time that we have to do pre-fire plans. We have all year. So again, search by code. Before I jump into how to search by business, I want to show you how to do that. So if you want to, you can search it by that. So say if I want to do it by location, I can do it ascending, which means from A to Z, or I can do it descending, which is Z to A, and I can do it that way and search through the business. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list now, there's 332 businesses today. When this is being done, that will go up the more businesses we put in. So just be mindful of that. If you don't want to go through this whole list and look through it alphabetically or by code or whatever, you can go up here and do search with columns. Now notice this says starts with. The easiest way to do it is to do contains. That way you can just put in part of the word. Say for instance, if you want to put in bank, you can search all the businesses that we have in our pre-fire plans with just bank. So it'll kind of search through things like that to do it that way. One thing that I wanted to add, and I put it in a text box, but for some reason it's not showing on here. Anytime you see an arrow right there, it means that you can change, even though it's not showing it on this, there's different things that you can search. So it's showing I can search by contains, I can search by exact, I can search by starts with, but each one of these columns, same way, we'll do the same way. Just make sure I wanted y'all to understand that. One last thing I'll add to this, when you're searching bank or just anything that you're searching for, doesn't necessarily look in location name, it also go into property use or anything in here that says bank in it. So anything that you type up here to search with, and if you hit contains, hit go as well. Like I said a while ago, it'll pull up anything over here that has bank in it, this, it'll search the whole field with that. Also, if you look at these drop down menus when it comes to these businesses, you can look by, you can even pull it up by business owners, so it can get as detailed as you want to get into. Main thing is like with this one, this will probably be a good one to use. We can get used to it. Just say if we want to search with all the businesses that we have, the number of churches or anything that we have within the city limits, we can pull that up as well. We can get as detailed as we want to with this, and again, Elite is asking us a lot. We just have to make sure that we put in the information correctly. That way, next year, whenever we come back and do this, we don't have to do as much work when it comes to pre-fire plans. When you're ready to go back and start over, instead of having to log out and go all the way back into it, when you're in the search field, if you just do that right there and hit go, it'll bring you back up to the main page. So now that we're finished with how to search and organize these lists, let's look at a finished product of what we're going to be looking at here. The reason why I'm going to do the finished product first is I'll go into finished product, what it looks like, and then where to enter all this stuff in. So if I go up here to search and just say if I give you a block and say, all right, A shift, Chancey has their block. Okay, so for today, that block's going to be A3 because that's the block that we used last year on our shift. We used A shift station 3. But we're just say Chancey's got A3 block. Okay, so if I type in A3 go, this is going to pull up all the A3 codes over here to the side. Now I may have some A3s in this big field here. That's why this code's going to be changed to probably Chancey or Dowling or Chancey-1, Dowling-1. That way it's a specific code that would only be found in this field. The best example I've seen of this, the one that we've done that kind of hits everything that we go into, is this Love's Truck Stop that we did. Love's Truck Stop has Love's, Arby's, and Love's Tire Center in there, so you could actually type Arby's. If you went up here, instead of saying starts with, you could hit contains. I could type in Arby's, and it would do the same thing. Right, now if I just did Arby's without the apostrophe, it's not going to pull up anything. If I do just Arby's or Love's, or Arby or Love's without the apostrophe, it's going to do that. Alright, so I'm going to go in here, and before I get into how to do the pre-fire plan, pre-fire plans are going to be simplified. You're going to start here on the left side. You're going to go from the top. You're going to go down. You're going to fill in all the fields. You're going to move over here to the right side. You're going to go from the top. You're going to go down. You're going to fill in these fields, and you're going to go down here to the bottom where it says pre-fire plan. You're going to click on that, and you're going to start at the top, and you're going to go down. When you do those 3 things, your pre-fire plan is finished. There's nothing else that you have to do. So before we get into filling in everything and why everything's done, I'm going to show you a overview of what a pre-fire plan should look like. Now what I just did is I went into this pre-fire plan. Let me close out some of these screens, sorry. I went into this pre-fire plan and I went print, and what this print button does, it gives me an overview. It gives me this whole pre-fire plan in one screen. So if you do that right now, if you have your laptop in front of you, you can actually pull up a pre-fire plan and press the print button, and it'll pull this up. Now Elite's asking us certain things. Not everything we put in here is going to show up here, and I'll show you exactly what will and what won't. So don't put things in certain fields because you're just wasting your time. Also, one thing you have to remember is the name of the business is very important, as well as the code, along with the address, because again, whenever we go to search these things, if we don't necessarily know the name of the business but we know the address, we can do it by that way as well. Also, for some of your larger strip malls, this address will be the same for the most part. like at Martindale Plaza. I can't remember exactly what the address there at Martindale Plaza is, but each one of them's a different suite, I think. So you could actually type in the address to Martindale Plaza in the search field, and it'll actually give you all the businesses located within that field. And I'll show you how to do that here in a little while. Beside the point. Now, let's get into this real quick. Location information, pre-plan description, special instructions, building information, additional building information. All that is on here. We can look at all this stuff as we're going to the scene, and also once we talk with Chief Martins and Director Ward, we may be given access for Central to maybe able to look at this stuff. So instead of us having to look it up, instead of Central having to use E911 or Active 911, they can actually use our information that we put in by talking to each one of these businesses. So if, say for instance, we're going to a scene and we want to know exactly where this gas shutoff is going to be for this business, we can actually find it right here in building information. It's going to tell us where all this is. You can look at there, this gas shutoff is located on the C side of the structure, so we know exactly where that's at. This is just giving you an example. So all this stuff is going to be entered in, and I'll show you as we get started. Let's go ahead and get started with this. When you first pull it up, this is all going to be blank, but I'm just going to give you a full overview of how to do it. You're going to type in your code. If you have a new business, we'll let you know which code is going to be entered in for that business. But existing, that's where the code goes. That code will not be changed. It's going to stay the same year in and year out. One thing to remember is as we're doing these blocks and you're given a block, don't change these blocks, because once we set these codes, they're going to stay the same year in and year out. Simplifying it, we don't need to complicate it, because if one block is changed to another station and y'all go in and change that code, then in between the 2 years, businesses are going to go fluctuate up and down, because you're going to be changing the blocks in and out. So that's the other reason why these codes are just going to remain the same year in and year out. Name of the business, put that in. Don't worry about these two, property tax or federal employee. Hit next. It's going to move the address. Just make sure the address is entered in correctly. Follow the steps. Hit next. We're going to go to mailing address. Make sure that when you're talking to these guys, make sure the mailing address is the same as the actual address. Sometimes they have P.O. boxes. So we can just put that in there. It's not really going to make a big deal for us, but just for the accuracy of the business, just make sure you ask them that. Put the phone number in here. That way we can have access to it. Now, this phone number is not going to show up here, because it would actually show up here under location information. We're actually going to put their actual main phone number in a different location as well as here. So it's a little bit of duplication, but it's not much. But we put that in there because it's easy to see whenever we pull up the pre-plan information if we need access that way. Don't worry about that. If they have a fax number, yeah, that's fine. Maybe we want to fax them over something. I don't know. But just, you can put that in there if you want to. Don't worry about the GPS. Man, it's not important. Location notes, leave it blank, because if I put something in here, if I just put in here, nothing is going to save. I can put that in there. I mean, it's going to save it, but whenever I go to my main page here, even if I re-pull it up, it's still not going to show here. So there's no reason to put this here. So don't put anything in location notes. Under location info and location notes, you're not going to put anything there. You're going to move to building information. This is where it's going to get specific to the buildings. Make sure you just put in here what it is. Don't have to explain this to you. Make sure you do this correctly as far as the building status. And normal use is what we use if they're just operating as normal. If they're still building, that's fine. Idle, not routinely used. That may be just like a business that's there, but maybe used as a storage facility. I think a good example of that is over there off of East Avenue, right across the street from the print shop. There's a guy that uses the building for storage, but he only stores his cars in there. So it's idle, it's a business, but it's not routinely used. So we could actually get specific by that. Major renovation is fine. Vacant secured means that there's nobody in that building and it's locked. Vacant unsecured is it's vacant and people can have access otherwise. But if it's something that we don't know what it is, we can always put other. Of course, we know mixed property use or a row of stores is going to be strip malls, enclosed mall if you want to do that. It don't matter. Make sure you just put that in there what it is. Property use as far as what it actually is, this does get specific, so make sure you're putting it as close to what the building or business is that. Okay. One thing to remember is when you're filling in these fields here, all these fields right here, if they don't have it, do not leave it blank. You put NA or not available in here, or do not have, or nothing, or put NA. NA is just the easiest thing to put because you don't have to, it's easy to type in. But on this right here, if they have something, these fields, you can put anything in here, and you can put as much in here as you want to. It will actually go further than this field. You can just do, I'm just going to do A. You see how long it goes? Okay. So if I save that, and watch this, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to close this out and reload this. You see that right here, it says key box. It put that whole field in there. So you can actually put it as descriptive if you want to, if you need to put a specific note in there for that. So something to remember. It will let you do, that. Okay. So remember, if I don't have it, put NA. Do not leave it blank. Fill in your fields accordingly. This one right here is the only one that I've seen that will not do what I'm asking. So if I put 0 in here, stories above grade, stories below grade, still fill it in if they don't have a story below grade. Do not leave it blank, but it will not save it here. You see how it says, you see how stories below grade is blank? It will not save it. It'll still say as a blank information. So we know if you're doing your job and filling in all your fields, if we pull this up, it's going to be 0. I don't have to question that, but still fill it in. Okay. Length and feet, length and width. So there's two ways you can do this. You can do this on site, or you can do this via Google Maps. And if you want to pause real quick, I will go over that just real quick and show this. Okay. So I'm going to pause this and I'm going to make a different segment. But we can do this in length and feet on site with a measuring wheel, or we can do it via Google Maps. So a quick introduction to Google Maps. If I want to do this from my computer, I go back out to the scene to do it. I can also use this for trying to find hydrants in case I forget to look for a hydrant, or if I need to make sure if that's the closest one. So let's go to a new screen, and I'm going to go to maps.google.com. And what this will do is going to pull up your current location of where your computer actually is based on where you are. And if I want to look up the location that we were actually at, which is going to be Love's Truck Stop, and in just in case you just want to use the address, 3771 US Highway 231, 3771, that one right there, Love's Truck Stop, boom. Okay. Alright, so I can zoom in to Love's Truck Stop, and I can go to my layers, and if I want to go to satellite, it's going to actually pull up the actual business itself. Now, how are we going to calculate square footage for a business that's not in the same building? So we have Love's Truck Stop that's actually here, but we have the Tire Center that's actually there. Normally what we can do is usually I just take the largest business and I do that one. If we want to do it as a separate pre-fire plan, depending on how they want us to do it in the future, if Elite wants us to get that specific, then that's fine. But as for this, for our purposes, what we're going to do is we're going to do the main building, or for any instance, we're going to do the main building. So I'll take my mouse and I'll put it to the cursor where I want to find it. And if you're doing measurements, you're going to go from long point to long point. So from long point to the front is going to be here. And what I did is I just right clicked on my mouse button and scroll all the way down to his measured distance, and a dot shows up. And then I'm going to left click my longest point, which is going to be there, and it gives me 99 feet. That's going to be my length in, it's going to be my length here. Main forest, but we put 95, so I'm just going to change that to 99. And then I can right click again and clear measurement, and then I can go back in here and do right click again, measure distance, and go over to my long point and measure there, which is going to be 134. Let's see what we put in here, which is not even close. I don't know who put that in. That's going to be on me, guys. I'll take credit for that one. 134. So, and then you can hit calculate total square foot. That's how I can do length and width on Google Maps. Also, you can use this for one of your additional building information. So if I want to know the setback from the street, you're going to do, mainly you're going to do the street that's perpendicular to the building. So I'm just going to do measure distance from here to the front door. It's going to be 220. And I'm going to go into pre-plan information. Let's see if it already has it on here. Setback from the street says 205. So I mean that's pretty close to what it was. I think it was 220. Yeah, 15 feet. All right, so that's how you would do measurements on Google Maps if you want to do it. If I want to know where my hydrants are, instead of, and again, we can always go out and do these things for training, but for something, if we're trying to do this quickly, or we may not want to go all the way back out to that business and just get it done, mainly to save time, we can do Street View. And if you're doing it on your laptop or on the computer, it's a lot easier. So if you look down here to the bottom left, or excuse me, bottom right, you see this little dude. If I left click this guy and hold it, you see how my hand closed? I'm holding it. I can drag this guy because I'm still holding down my mouse and he's following along with me. Every blue street that you see here that is highlighted is Street View available. Mainly, it's going to give me a view from a car on these streets that I'm at. So there's Love's right here. I know this from my walking around experience. There's going to be a hydrant located right here in the business. So I just know that from painting hydrants over the years. I know there's a hydrant here, and if I'm not bad wrong, there's a hydrant down here on Campus Drive. But if I'm looking for hydrants, or if I want to know my pre-action plan of which hydrant's going to be my first option, and I don't necessarily want to go back out to the street to do it and say we just want to do some training here at the station one day, we can do Street View of this and say, well, is there any more hydrants down here on this street? We can just go down this hydrant, or go down here to see if there's another hydrant. And looky here, here's another hydrant right there at the college. So I know where this position is at via Street View. So if I just do this right here, find this hydrant, I go back to hit this back button up here. So what we were just looking at was this hydrant here. I can actually see the shadow on Google Maps. And I want to know, all right, well, let's find out how far this hydrant is to where we were going to be. So if we're going to pull into this business, we're probably going to pull down here. We're going to stay off this major. We're going to pull into, I'm not even looking at the road. We're going to pull up here, and we're going to pull into this business, more than likely pull back here to have access to the building. Now, it depends on what your IC is going to do. Maybe we want to pull up here, but for the most part, we have so much room back here, why not park our truck right here? So I want to find out how much hose we're going to need. So I've already got one measurement here. You can see my little dot that I did. I can zoom in here, put a dot here, put a dot here, put a dot here, and put a dot there. And basically what that is he just gives me my hard points. That's 1,300 feet to the business. Pretty much a full load and then some more, you know, with a pony section maybe. So is that going to be a viable option for us to use as a hydrant? Probably not. But we know it's there for whatever reason if we need it. So that's another reason of looking at Google Maps and Street View real quick. That's a quick interjection in between the pre-fire plans to show you how to do this. So I just showed you how to search on Google Maps of how to do square footage and hydrants and measure, you know, distances like that. So let's do this also in another aspect. If I want to use Google Maps, if I'm sitting at the computer at the station and I pull up 1234 Andrews Avenue strip mall, and I'm not certain what businesses are in that strip mall, I can use it as a second way to confirm everything that I'm looking for. So if I go to Google Maps and I type in 1234 Andrews Avenue, and it pulls up the address right here, which shows right there, I can pull my guy right here to 1234 Andrews Avenue and look at my Street View. Now there's Martindale Plaza. I can actually count, if I want to, Martindale Plazas. You see how many businesses are there without actually having to go out there. But here I'm looking at 1234 Andrews Avenue. Even though on here it says 1228, As you know, it's not going to be 100% accurate. But on my locations list under occupants, it says I have 3: Approved Cash, iGo, and World Finance. But on here, it shows Hairapy Salon and Barbershop. Now, if this business may be closed. I can't remember if Hairapy's closed or not, but it could be. So if I look down here at the very bottom, image capture June of 2022. So this is when this business was actually done in June of 2022 is whenever this business was or this picture or this car came through Ozark was June of 2022. So if I want to double check myself and say I've got World Finance, Local Finance, and iGo Insurance listed in 1234 Andrews Avenue, I can go in here again and look for Hairapy. So let's close out of this. Let me close out of here. And if I just look up 1234, there's Hairapy Salon. It's actually listed as a different business and not in the strip mall. There's actually 2 of them here. So whoever actually has Hairapy Salon is going to have to, or actually who has this strip mall here, this year you're going to have the job of taking the businesses out of occupants and listing them as a separate location. Make sure all that information gets transferred over. The drawings get transferred over. And then you're also going to make sure which Hairapy Salon you're going to have to do, because it looks like somebody did it twice. So this is a redundancy system, because again, you're looking at me, you're like, man, this is so much work. Why are we doing this much work? Well, we're not doing this within a set time frame, remember? So this is a whole year thing. So you can do one strip mall a shift or a business per shift. Furthermore, whenever you go into this Andrews Avenue strip mall and we have them listed as separate businesses, we may have a drawing for each separate business, but it would be helpful to have a drawing for each business in each location. So say for instance, under 1177, Andrews Andrews, we have all these businesses. Realistically, putting every single drawing in every single business is probably a bit overkill. We don't have to do that, but having an overview of the entire complex and having 2 separate drawings in each business, saying one for Dollar General, that's what I pulled up a while ago. I pulled up one for Dollar General, and having a drawing for Dollar General and then a drawing of the full complex of how the businesses are laid out. So it's just a thing to help us get more in tune with. Once we're done with floor size, we'll move on to extinguishing. This is actually talking about your sprinkler systems, or if there's any other suppressant systems in your business. If they have a sprinkler system, make sure you put in here what it is, where it's located. Again, you can put in here what you want on here, no set number. If they have a kitchen hood, notice how I put in here what kind it is and where it's located and actually what it is. Where this shows up is actually going to be in here, right here. It shows you right there under your building information. Done with that, let's go to detection information. It's going to be your smoke detectors. Nothing fancy here. Got different ones. If they have combination, we can do smoke and heat. If you have some smoke and you have some heat, you can actually add these to different ones. You can actually add another one if they have smoke in one area and then they have heat in another area. You can put the different locations here. Again, you can get as specific as you want to. No reason to overcomplicate this. Put on what kind it is, if it's a battery combination or whatever. Put that kind in there as well. This is where you're going to put your notes in. You're going to put business hours in here. You're going to put the number of employees, and you're going to put the phone number again. Now, the phone number is already in here for the main business, but like I said, it doesn't show up, so we put this in here. So we'll actually show up under the notes right here of what it is. Maintenance. We're going to go into maintenance. We're going to start using maintenance now to show what we're actually doing. Maintenance is actually going to be specific. We have pre-action down here at the bottom, which is actually going to be our pre-fire plans. So when we do a pre-fire plan, we're actually going to add a pre-action plan of when we did it. We can put the date of what it done. If you do the fire inspection on the computer the same day that you're doing it, you can just hit that, and it's going to show you, today's date. All right. So incident description. Let me show you what we got here. I'll just pull this one up. We did this pre-action plan on 7/22. It was a pre-action plan or pre-fire plan, Captain Steed yearly pre-fire plan. And what that does is it goes back. I'm listing the officer that actually did it. That way, if there's a problem with it, or if there is a question about it, or maybe that you're on a truck that's going to this and you look at the pre-fire plan and you're like, well, Judd did this one and he says there's roof access. Well, he's probably going to know where it's at because he did the pre-fire plan on it. All you got to do is call him, or maybe, depending on what it is, and to say, hey, y'all said they're listed as a roof access. Where's it at? We can't find it. So it links the person who actually did the fire plan for common reasons. Instead of doing a pre-fire plan, it has different other things in here that we can do. So if we go out to a business specifically not to do a pre-fire plan but for another reason, then we can list that on here as well. So we can do a number of different pre-fire plans on here. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pre-fire plan. It could be other ones. These will not get deleted. These will be the same year in and year out. So say that we're actually going back in this and we don't know what date we actually did the pre-fire plan, but the pre-action plan is actually in here. If I go to contacts here, it actually tells me the date that I actually put the contact in the system. So it was actually on 7/22 of 22 is whenever I did the pre-fire plan for this. So that's why I put that date in there. I actually just did this a few minutes ago because I did not put the date or a pre-action plan in this. So we're actually going to be using that as well. Just remember that this is not only for pre-fire plans, but it can be used for other things as well. Brittany's time, we're actually doing this where they're going out there in steps. C-Shift is actually going out there in steps and doing it for the sprinkler, and then for electrical, then for the fire alarm panels, and then they're actually going to do a full pre-fire plan when everything gets done. So they're actually going to do this in steps. So it actually just gives us a list. It gives us a link to when everything was finished. So, or when everything was done, steps. Okay. So moving on to the right side of our pre-fire plan, we're done with the left. Let's move on to the right. We're going to go into documents. This is where our drawings are saved. This is where we can either do an Excel drawing or handwritten drawing. And more or less, I want to tell you guys that if we're doing a handwritten drawing, it better be really good because we don't want what we used to have. Basically, we don't want 4 walls. We want to make sure that everything's notated accordingly like it should be. So if I want to access this drawing, I can, let me go into it again. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click on this drawing. I'm going to hit download. And it's going to pull up saying, oh, you're going to download this to my computer. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to hit save. And then down here in the left corner down here, it's actually going to do this. It does this for every computer that's Windows based. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to open it up after it's downloaded. So we have access to this drawing. Well, now, quick overview of the drawings. What we're looking at, if it's notated in the pre-fire plan as a gas shutoff, PIV, roof access, anything out of the norm, anything that basically you probably would like to know in a drawing, let's just notate it in the drawing, okay, guys? Electrical room located, hot water heater. Here's the roof access we had talked about. And there's a loft area above it that we had notated. There's a gas shutoff over here. There's a loft above the office over here that we probably need to know about. Gas fuel bays are over here. Gas pump shut off. Gas pump shut off. All that's located in here. So if you feel like you're like, oh, maybe do I need to really notate in that drawing? You probably do. So just a rule of thumb. Get done with that and you can X out of it. And also I wanted to notate this as well. You don't necessarily have to notate a drawing. You can notate any file that you want to in this for this business, but it needs to be notated accordingly. Don't just put in here, this doesn't need to, if they put a file in here, it needs to be named. So if I want to add a file to my documents and you don't know how to do that, or you look at me and like, I don't know how to do that, or Tucker, come over here and do this for me. Well, the whole reason why I'm doing this video is because I want people that don't know how to do it, they can go back to this video and reference and then know how to do it. So I'm taking the responsibility off myself of actually doing a lot of this stuff. Not because I want to do less work, but mainly because I want you guys to be able to do this as well, so that we can all share in the load of being able to do this. Because when more people are able to do this, the less work it's going to take. The less work it takes, the more effort we can put into this to actually do more accurate pre-fire plans. And whenever we do that, we can share in the load of everybody doing this together. The one thing I don't necessarily enjoy or like to hear is because, well, I've been doing pre-fire plans for 20 years. Great, you should know how to do these very well. with some of these newer firefighters that come in, there's probably going to be a scenario within the next year or so to where the officer on duty is going to be the one that's going to know exactly what to do, but these firefighters that are working under you may not know how to do this thing. So you're going to have to be able to teach these guys on how to do it accurately. So you need to know how to do it. And also, whenever we do that, we're going to have around about 500 to 600 businesses to be able to do that. And putting that on one guy, that's a lot of work for one guy to do. But whenever we're sharing the load of everybody doing it together, that helps. Okay? I know that was a little bit of a rant, but I want y'all to understand of why we're all doing it. Not being able to do computer work or not being good on computers is pretty much not going to be an excuse anymore. So we're in 2023, guys. You got to know how to use a computer. All right. So if we want to load a document, we're going to click on Documents and we're going to add new. When we add new, we're going to hit. It's going to show either take photo or browse. We're going to hit browse, and it's going to say, oh, okay, I'm accessing your files now. You're going to scroll through your folders or wherever you need to get to find, and you're going to click on the file that you need. And when you find it, you're going to hit open. And it's going to show it right here. It's like, all right, I've grabbed that file. It's in my system, and I'm going to hit OK. Now it says pending. It's going to keep saying pending until you hit this OK button down here at the bottom. Once you do that, there's a screen's going to pop up right here, and it says success. Now basically what this does is that now my file that was on my computer is now located in Offsite Elite in the cloud. I can access this file now from anywhere as long as I have access to Elite. Okay, so I can access file from anywhere. So I'm going to delete that, hit OK, just to get it out of here. So that kind of gives you an idea. So you can do any file, not necessarily just your drawing. You can do any file you want to. All right, move down here to occupants. We're going to come back to that here in just a minute. We're going to, I'm going to go over that in more detail. You're going to skip over inspections. You're going to go to contacts. You're going to update your contacts accordingly. Basically what I want on here is I want Mr. I want your first and last name, or Mrs. or whatever it is that you want to put in here. I want you to put in their cell phone number. I want you to put in there if they're the building owner, the business owner, or key holder. If they're not a key holder, chances are I probably don't want to get their phone number anyway. So also I want to put in here their position, what they are, if they're a cashier, if they're a manager, if they're a floor manager, a shift manager, the owner, whatever it is they are. I want you to put it in here. That way we know who we're calling. Also, whenever we get done, we're going to hit OK. It's going to update all this information right here, and I want you to put in their contact order, and you're going to ask them whenever you're on site, are you the first person that I need to contact if I need to get in this building after hours? If they say no, we need to make sure that we're figuring out who we're supposed to contact first. Simple enough. I know it's self-explanatory, but I did want to go over that in case you guys have any questions. Once we get done with contacts, we're going to move past tasks, and we're going to move past inspection or incidences. We're not going to worry about that yet. It's just about entering in information. Once you get done with that, you're going to go down there to pre-plan info. You're going to click on that. Now, once you click on that, it's going to change this button to location information or location info. But if you notice, these tabs change when you click on it. So notice how it says documents up there at the top. But when I click on pre-plan info, it changes it to hazmat, sprinklers, on-site materials, overview, and building additional building info. If there's hazmat on scene, make sure you're adding it. If there is hazmat on scene, they're going to have all the information for it. Just add it there. All right. Well, notice I just added one when I shouldn't have. So let me delete it. All right. Sprinklers, this is where we go into the specifics of a sprinkler. If we want to do a sprinkler inspection, we don't have to necessarily do this for the pre-fire plan, but if we want to go back and do a sprinkler in service or a sprinkler inspection, we can add this to the maintenance side of things when we do a sprinkler section, but we can also add it here to specifics of sprinkler the sprinkler information. We can put off the cutoff, the manufacturer, the main, the test date, the pump, all that. We can put all that in here if we want to do that. It would be preferred if we did that for the sprinklers. On-site materials is going to be different than hazmat. This is basically anything not necessarily listed as hazardous material, but something that would be important to fuel load for a building. So that's basically what this would be for. This is very in-depth on this, so we can put a number of different things on here if it is considered or that would be considered a fire hazard for the building. Okay. Overview, this is where we're going to put anything on here that we would find important for the business that necessarily would not be otherwise has an entry point throughout this pre-fire plan. Special instructions may be something that's on site for a business that may require a special type of tool or a special way to operate it. So anything that will require special assistance or something like that for special instructions. All that is listed on your pre-fire plan, and it's located here for your pre-plan and your special instructions. Your hazmat information is going to be down here. Your on-site materials is down here. Your sprinkler system is going to be here. All that stuff is located right there, guys. Okay, so just keep that in the front of your mind. Under overview, you'll see additional building information here. This is another section of the pre-fire plan that kind of just jumbles a lot of the smaller things together. If you pull this up and you click on that, what is already in here, what has been loaded, as you see, it says floor truss type slab, nearest hydrant location. We have the number 1 nearest hydrant location, number 2 nearest hydrant location, setback from the street. This is not all that this is building information what you can enter in. If you click on this, there's 8 different categories that you can type on here. What we're going to be focusing on is construction type, floor truss, nearest hydrant location, roof, and setback. So available fire flow we're not going to worry about. Number of hydrants on site we're not going to worry about. Required fire flow we're not going to worry about for right now. However, we can put that information in there based on who's doing the pre-fire plan. I know maybe Captain Soley may want to put required fire flow in there. It's on our old pre-fire plans, how to do that. But if we want to do, like say like Walmart, if we want to put like number of hydrants on site, we could put, I think there's 3 or 4, so we could just do 4 if we wanted to. And it would show that on the pre-fire plan. It'll pop up under there. But nearest hydrant location, we're going to put, say for our number 1, we're going to put the type of hydrant. It's going to be our number 1 hydrant. We're going to put the location. You can either put the address or an intersection or anything like that. And down here in the description, what we'll be moving to is, once we get used to this program more and more, we can put the distance it is to the actual residence or building or commercial, whatever building it is. I'm not going to try to give you guys too much to do that for right now. We're just we've got a lot of information we've got to put in here right now to get caught up. Once we get caught up, we're going to dive a little bit more deeper into being more specific on this. I'll just do one real quick. I'm going to do add for this, and then I'll do roof truss type, and it's going to be a flat metal roof. Once I hit OK, it'll bring me back to the screen right here, and it'll add this right here, flat metal roof. Once we get done with that, I'll show you on the pre-fire plan when you print it out, or when you do the overview of it, I'll show you where it comes into play. But just remember, when you do additional building information, there's a lot of additional building information that we have to put in. Floor truss type, when we do that, and it's a truss, or you can do wood truss or metal truss, whatever it is. Under description, we could put basement is on site. We could put that on if we wanted to, and it will show up on the pre-fire plan for sure. You can actually see that. I'll just hit OK to where you can see it. Once you get done with the screen right here, you don't want to come out of the screen until you're done with these categories that you want to do, because you're having to go back into it. It just takes a second, but once you move around on these pre-fire plans, once you do about 3 or 4 of these, you get kind of used to how to navigate the pre-fire plan pretty quickly, and then you can start putting these pre-fire plans in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes per pre-fire plan. And you're saying, whoa, that's a long time. But I'm going to go into that also here towards the end. It's not going to be near as bad as it used to be. Promise you that. All right, so say we're done with all the additional building information. and we want to see where this information is located, all that is going to be listed right here. And I like how this is set up because all the different categories that I told you about are bolded, and it tells you everything right here. And you can see this right here: floor truss type, metal truss, and then the basement is on site. It shows that right there. And then roof truss, flat metal roof. So when I say metal roof, I'm not talking about the actual roof itself. I guess I could go in there and put metal truss or metal stick frame or whatever you want to put in there. You can put whatever you want to in there. I'm not going to get into that. So if I want to go back in here and delete that, I can just find this, and then I can do floor truss type and do that, and just hit delete, and then it'll delete it for me. Okay. So that pretty much wraps up all the entry of how to enter all the information into the pre-fire plan. Next up, we're going to go into occupant information, and I'm going to do that as a separate segment. I didn't even realize this earlier whenever I was talking about Dollar General, but Dollar General is actually a perfect example of why we're getting away from occupant information. So quickly, I'm going to pull this back up just like we were just in it, and I'm going to go to the print screen, and I'm going to pull this information up. We just saw this, okay? The name of the business, it has the connective structure, HVAC on roof. It has everything here that I just mentioned about having, what's available in that, what this business has, where everything's located. There's nothing under notes, none of this, okay? There's nothing in contacts down here at the bottom. Well, I looked over here to the side, and this business, Dollar General, is entered into the pre-fire plan system exactly how we were told last year. Again, I told you last year we were still learning the system. We were trying to go from paper to electronic. So we were advised to put in the business under location. Once we did that, we went to occupants, and we added an occupant for Dollar General. So every business had an occupant. Now, if I pull this up under occupants, there's contacts right here for Dollar General. So I still can't see that under my quick access button here for Dollar General. So let me go back over here. I'm going to hit print real quick, and I'm going to keep this pulled up. So I'm going to keep all this information pulled up right here. Let's go back under occupant, how we were told to enter this last year. And it shows here that I have contacts. Okay, well, I have contacts for this business, but it's not listed under here. So real life scenario, if I'm going out to this business during either a fire, or maybe we have to go into it after hours, the fire alarm's going off, to be able to get to this page requires several loading screens. And if we all know that sometimes the computers don't work necessarily as fast as we need them to, either it be that the computer, well, it could be dead, or the hotspot may not be on, or it's just these computers are running slow at times. Sometimes they run slow, sometimes they not. The internet system could be running bad. So to get to this screen for the contacts requires quite a few clicks. We have to pull up the business in location. We have to go to occupants and load it. Then we have to go down to contacts and load it. Well, even though the contacts are in there like I just showed you before, it's not listed in here. If we take the information out of the occupants here, go back to the location and put all that information in, it's fine. Also under here, I told you before under the notes, like this is where we're going to put the business hours, number of employees, main phone number. All that's going to be right here under location notes, under the location information. Under occupants, if we went to occupant notes, those notes are there. Like they put them in like we were supposed to last year. But again, unable to see it on the quick access screen. I'm trying to move everything over to quick access, to where you load the computer, or you load the business, and then you hit print, which it gives you the quick access screen, and you can see all that information right here in front of you. That's what I'm trying to get to. This is a very good example of where we were last year and how we're getting better this year in entering in this information. All right, occupant info. So I actually pulled up another business for this example, which is all in credit. And this is just an example. This one's actually been entered incorrectly based on what we were told how to do it last year. Quickly, I will show you the difference between the overview on this one versus the one we just seen at Love's. So if I do the overview on this, you can see the information of right here, the pre-plan description, free frame exposures, none entry. Okay. So if we go into the building information, some of this is filled in, but some of it is also left blank. And it's probably because there's none of these are actually on location. This is actually pretty well done put pre-fire plan based on what we were given. The reason why I'm showing you this before going into occupant info is I want to show you what the occupant info has and what we can see on this pre-fire plan. Okay, so all in credit, this is the information that's been put in. You can pause it as we go along. I'm not going to go through any of this too much into depth. You see all this just hasn't been entered in, probably because it doesn't have it. You know, the height, main floor size, you know, all of this stuff right here. Mainly there's very little information listed in the location information on this business. If I go over to my occupants, there is an occupant for this business. It's the same one as All In Credit Union. And when we load this occupant like we were told to put in, it has all the same information as it did in the location. Let me go back real quick. I'm going to show you this. We were told to put in information under occupant info, the business hours and number of employees, but it doesn't show on this main page. There's nothing here stating the notes. See how the notes is empty? Because it's entered in the wrong location. So what we're going to do here is for each business that we did last year, or the businesses that you're going to be handed this year, if the business has an occupant, we're going to get the information from the occupants. Say mainly the contact information that we have in here. We have contact information. Let's go back and start over. We're basically taking all the information out of the occupant and put it in a location where I told you before to put it. So general address, you don't have to worry about that. Contact, make sure the phone number is transferred over to the location phone number. You don't have to worry about that. The notes, make sure that you're transferring the business hours and the number of employees from occupant notes to building notes. Not location notes, but building notes. And that's going to be under the view location. You got to go back to the location to do that. The maintenance, you don't have to worry about that. Occupant load, you don't have to worry about that. If there's a document in here, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to click on this, download this document onto the laptop that you have. Whatever laptop that you have, you have to download it, save it, delete it out of here, delete it, and then go back into the location to where you just were. You hit view location, just like this. Go back to your documents, and you're going to add that document you just had, because you're going to hit add new, browse, and you just save that file on that laptop, and you're just going to add it. You're going to find it on here, and you're going to add it here. Taking all the information out of the occupants, and I'm not touching this one. This is going to be one for practice for whoever gets this business this year. You're going to take the contacts, just write down the contact's name, delete it out of here. But when you're done with this, when you're done with it, you're going to go back to the occupant here. You're going to go to occupants, and let me X out of this, because I'm in occupant right now, because like I told you, or as you can see, it says view location right there. You can always tell if you're in occupant information because this view location button will be visible. If you're in location, the only buttons up here at the top, you'll see save, print, and close. If you're in occupant info, you're going to see view location. Also, you'll see over here to the side, instead of it saying location information, it'll say occupant info right there. And there's not going to be a tab for building info. Occupants do not have the option of all that building information that you had. Last year, or we were actually informed to do location as a main business, and then all of the occupants that were a part of it go in occupant information. I think me and Helms had this conversation where he did Martindale Plaza. He had one location, which was the location was called Martindale Plaza, and if you went in here, you saw these occupants. It was a lot of occupants were in here. And he says, well, why don't we do it like that? We can just look up Martindale Plaza. And I said, yeah, that's fine, Helms. I said, that's great. And I told him, I said, but what if I'm looking for grocery outlet? And I said, and I'm unaware. I mean, you're not here, nobody's around. And I said, for whatever reason, I can't find grocery outlet, but it's saved under Martindale Plaza. I can look it up by address, but trying to find that information is really difficult. So to simplify everything, that's why we're doing every business as a location. Occupant info is not intended for an active business. Elite is asking us for occupant information. Occupant is stated as location is going to be a current business. Occupant info is going to be businesses that were there previously to that business that is there now. Good example of this is Dirt Cheap. Like I said, way back it was Walmart, and then it was Roses. Well, it was vacant for a while, and then it was Roses, and now it's Dirt Cheap. It's about to be vacant again, and then there's going to be another tenant or business there, hopefully in the near future. So if these pre-fire plans were done accordingly, like we had done in the past, you would pull up this location here, and it would say all in or Dirt Cheap, and over here to the side you would pull up occupants, and it would say Roses, Walmart. Under here you would show the previous two previous two tenants that were there, businesses. And then when you pulled up this business, the old business, it would have a start date and end date right here. And then all the contact information, if you wanted to keep all the contact information for the old businesses, could be right there. And it's just, again, it's information that we have at our fingertips that we have the option of saving. Elite is allowing us to save this in our system and to keep it in a file that we can have access to on down the road. So why not? The only thing we have to do is transfer information. That's all we're doing. So that's the thing that we have to get used to. That's why occupants never really made sense to me while we were putting in stuff in location and then having to go into occupant and reload everything again. Next year, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a preference. Next year, we're going to load occupant information back in for the current business. The only reason being is so that whenever that business closes, only thing we have to do is put an end date right here, and then under location, we just have to go back in and just put vacant or inactive or whatever. But for right now, what I'm telling you to do, if you get a business and you load it up and it has an occupant here, you got to transfer all that information from occupant back into the location, and it's the same location that you're going to have, and you're going to delete this occupant. We're getting rid of it right now. There's no sense in having it, no reason to have it. And if that is unclear, I will explain it to you in person to give you a really crisp clear of what it's doing. Okay? So now showing you the overview of the entire pre-fire plan on one page, I want to show you guys why we're using location rather than occupant information whenever we enter in these buildings. I have a perfect example of this whenever you go back and look at this. Now we are going to back step here just for a second, but it's going to give me a good example as to why. If you open your computer and you go in here and you type in 1234 Andrews. You can do starts with, but I'm just going to change it to contains to make sure I hit everything I need to. It's going to pull up this strip mall here. And this strip mall is located, noted as 1234 Andrews Avenue Strip Mall. Okay, so let's load this business. So if I pull up this business, the name of it is 1234 Andrews Avenue Strip Mall. You're like, where in the world is that? You know, what business is that? And I'm like, well, I don't really know what businesses are here. But last year we were taught to add a strip mall as a location and then the occupants within that strip mall as occupants. So if I pull up occupants, it tells me the 3 businesses that are located within that strip mall. Approved Cash, I Go Low, World Finance. Okay. Now, the reason why this is going to be confusing is if I'm looking up, just say World Finance pre-fire plan. Now I can pull up the occupants list and look for World Finance. Totally fine. You're like, Casey, why are you changing this? This sounds perfect. And I'm like, well, there's a reason why. So World Finance, I Go Low, I Go Insurance, and Approved Cash are in here as occupants. But if I go in here and look at this overview of this business, for this generalized pre-fire plan, it gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 strip mall. It tells me the building information for the entire strip mall. It tells me all this information, the hydrant information, and the contact information for the entire strip mall, right? It doesn't matter what I put in here under occupant information. If I pull up each one of these occupants, it'll have a contact in here of this occupant. There's 4 contacts for approved cash, right? That's perfectly fine. I understand that. Okay. But if I want to access this pre-fire plan quickly, I can't do that if all these occupants are listed in here as occupants. If all these businesses were separated, instead of having one business address for 1234 Andrews Avenue, whenever I go to do the quick pull up for this business, when I do the quick pull up for this business, which is going to be right here, I want to be able to access who the contact information is for this business. Furthermore, whenever I'm looking at the actual individualized information for each of these businesses. Now, do you think that iGo or iGo Insurance and Approved Cash and what was the other one I said? Approved Cash, iGo Insurance, and World Finance. Do y'all think that they will still have, do you think each one of them may have a separate fire alarm panel? They probably will. Do you think that there's a possibility that there could be 3 different gas shutoffs for 3 different buildings? There probably will. There's definitely a different electrical box for each business. There could be a roof access in one business but not the other. There could be the links are going to be different. There could be a key box for one of these businesses but not the other. If I go in here to one occupant and I try to pull it up, it doesn't allow me to put in building information for each occupant. I can't put in, all this building information, this sect right here that I'm circling, the building information, is not allowable for occupants. It's only allowable for location information. So the reason why I'm backstepping here and going into this is whenever I'm going to search or I'm doing an overview, locations are used for businesses and not occupants, because under locations it gives me more room and more options to put in each separate business. Also, if I go to search this business, let's go out here and close, and I'm looking for World Finance. If I go into locations, I can't find World Finance under locations. It doesn't matter. But you're telling me, hey, Casey, well, I could just look under occupants for World Finance, and I could. But if I separate these businesses from their location and put them in under occupant, it doesn't allow me to put all the building information in there, the PIVs, the FDCs, the roof accesses, the stories, the square footage. It doesn't give me all that information for occupants. So why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Take out the occupant information, list them all as separate businesses to where they all have access to put as much information in there as possible. And also, whenever we go to look up this quick information right here, when I access the overview page for each separate business, it has each separate business here. Each contacts are down here at the bottom. The hydrants are also, everything is located as a separate business. It keeps everything separated, but occupants will be used in the future whenever I go over this, but it's going to be used in a different manner. All right, so now that I've shown you the example for 1234 Andrews Avenue Strip Mall and showed you why occupants is probably not the best idea to have one strip mall address as a location with your occupants listed under that, I want to show you the reverse side of that, which is a strip mall located right across the street, which is Martindale Plaza, 1177 Andrews. Okay, 1177 Andrews is listed as Martindale Plaza. I had this conversation with Lieutenant Helms last year whenever he actually put Martindale Plaza in here as Martindale Plaza, and all the businesses were listed as occupants. And I told Helms, I said, Helms, let me ask you a question. I said, in Grocery Outlet, I said, when you go in there, that electrical panel that's in Grocery Outlet is probably in a specific place. And he was like, yeah. I said, well, if you have Grocery Outlet listed as an occupant under Martindale Plaza, which Martindale Plaza would be the location, I said that doesn't give you an option to put in your electrical box. Okay, so there's a couple of businesses are missing from 1177, so that's going to be something that will be done later on, probably this year. But each business is listed separately here. Same address. If I pulled up 1177 Andrews, it pulls up all the businesses listed under 1177 Andrews, which is going to be Martindale Plaza. But if I was just looking for Rodeo Mexican Restaurant, I could type in Rodeo right here. And under locations, I could pull up just Rodeo Mexican Restaurant. Okay. So I'm going to pull up 1177 Andrews. Okay, there we go. So this is the rest of the businesses here. See how, and this is why I told you earlier why it's important how you list the addresses in the business. So if I just type in 1177, it pulls up all the businesses right here. It's got every single business for Martindale Plaza. Some of these are listed as 1177 East Andrews. Some of them is listed as 1177 East Andrews to East Andrews Avenue. Somebody just typed that in there wrong. But all this has to be, you know, it has to match one another if you're doing it as the same address. And it makes it easier to pull up, you know, all the businesses under that address. However, each one of these, if I just pull up, let's go to Dollar General real quick. I'm just going to pull this one up. And I pull up Dollar General, and it's going to list it as a separate businesses. Each one of these are going to be listed as a separate business. I can type in my code here, whatever that code is going to be. I'm going to update that. But when I go to my print screen and I pull this up, Dollar General now has all the specifics of what is fire hazard specifically for Dollar General. And you can list it, as you see how here it has it listed as a connected structure, so I know it's connected to another business. But if Dollar General was listed as an occupant under Martindale Plaza, I would not be able to put all this information in here for Dollar General. Furthermore, I wouldn't be able to put in this information here either as far as the extinguishing system. So that's why it's important. And the most important thing really is, even though there's no contact information listed down here at the bottom, we can put the contact information just for Dollar General and be able to access it quickly. All right, so what I'm going to do now is we've kind of reviewed how the businesses look, searching businesses, you know, why we should put things in certain places whenever, why we don't need to use occupants. So we're going to do a brand new business, and I'm going to go through each category and show you what we need to do, and I'm going to change that business. It's going to be a new business, and then we're going to facilitate some time, and then we're going to change that business to vacant and how we're going to put that information into occupant and what it's asking for. Okay, and then we're going to create another business after that to show you what we're supposed to do. All right, so I'm going to create you know, Tucker's business here. Okay, I'm looking it up. I want to see if there's anything in the system that contains Tucker's businesses as the name, and there doesn't. And there's no business here. Okay, so I'm going to X out of that, hit go, brings me back to the main page. And this is why I'm saying we don't have to go to create new location, because it's right here. I can hit new. All right, so first thing that we'll do is, as soon as this loads, you start over here on the left side, and we're going to go down. Code is, we'll just say Dowling. Dowling-2 is what we gave you the code. Name of the business, Tucker's business. All right, I don't have to do any of those. I'm going to go to my next screen. Street number 234. Prefix is going to be East. Name is going to be 27. Type is highway. It's kind of difficult to enter it in this way because you're supposed to put Highway 27, but it's asking for Highway 27. And just say if it was like Highway 27 East or South, or US Highway 231 South or something like that, then that's what you would do at the end. The way my address here at my house is actually East Highway 27. And then if you go to the other side to Hampton, just as Hampton starts, that's West Highway 27. All right. So postal code, it's going to be the same postal code for every business. I think that's the only thing that stays the same. It's postal code. I can hit look up by postal code, and it should automatically fill this in, City of Ozark. This is interesting. I'm outside the city limits, so I'm just going to put outside city limits. But for our businesses, we know that we don't do any businesses outside the city limits. So for this example for today, we're just going to put city limits. Next screen, is my mailing address the same as my location? Yes, it's the same, so I'm just going to hit the same, and it'll fill all that in. If the business were to give you a P.O. box, and just say, no, I don't have the same business, all right, I'm just going to put P.O. box, and I'm going to clear that out. Let's do this. Yeah, I'm going to put P.O. Box 127 is what I'm going to put. I'm going to put the street address. It's not going to have one. The name is not going to have one. The highway, I've actually never done a P.O. Box, so this will be new for me. So I'm kind of learning a little bit too. Nothing there. It's going to be City of Ozark. Okay. I'm going to hit next. Phone number 229-869-0634. That's my phone number. I don't have to worry about where I'm located because you have my address. Remember, I said don't put anything in location notes because there's nothing, it will not save in my quick access screen. So my building status is going to be an enclosed building. Status is going to be in normal use. Mixed property is just going to be, let's just say residential, okay? But for the most part, we're going to put either mercantile, business, or business and residential if they're working out of their house, but we're doing a pre-fire plan. But I'm going to do, where's it at? We'll just do office use. Property use is going to be, let's just say I'm doing a nightclub out of my house is what I'm going to do. Do I have a key box? Yeah, it's front porch, under mat, and that's not necessarily a key box, could be a key. Alright, fire alarm panel, I don't have one. FTC, I don't have one. PIV, I don't have one. Standpipe, I don't have one. Even though I don't have a gas shutoff, I do. I'm going to say on here I do. It's going to be on the B side. Near side entrance. This is where my gas shutoff electrical box is. Also the B side. Near porch. Roof access, nope. Sprinkler, nope. Fire alarm, no. I don't have any of those. I have 1 story above grade, 0 stories below grade. I have length in feet. I'm just going to say it's probably the length is going to be right around 50. The width is, I think, around 20. Calculate my total square feet. It's 1,000. Yeah, my house ain't that big. All right. Do I have an extinguishing system? Let's just say I do. All right. What kind of extinguishing system do I have? I have a dry chemical system, and where is it located? It's going to be my kitchen hood. Kitchen hood suppression. All right. I can put an additional one in there if I had 2 kitchens, so I can do that. Do I have a detector? Let's just say yes, I do. I have a smoke detector, and it's going to be location near front entrance inside. And what kind is it? It's going to be a battery. Okay. Building notes. This is where I'm going to put in business hours. And then I'll just put either you can do M through F or Monday through Friday, or whatever that's it, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Number of employees. I'm going to put 2, and then phone number. It's the same as, we're still going to put that in there. And remember, I said after each one of these, we're going to do dot, 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 just to kind of separate them in the quick access screen to where we can see the quick access screen a little bit better whenever we're trying to look this up. Maintenance, we're doing a pre-fire plan. We did it today. We're doing it's a pre-action plan. And in incident description, we'll just put, since I'll be, me and Wozo did it, I'll put Lieutenant Wozo yearly pre-fire plan. Range is 12 months. Okay, hit OK. So I'm already done with this side. So now I'm going to go to this side and I'm going to hit add new. I'm going to hit browse. Maybe, well, you're probably not seeing the screen right now, but only thing that it's showing is my folders, and like it's trying to access my computer to grab a folder, to grab an actual document. So I found the drawing that we did. I double clicked it, or I can hit open, and I hit OK. Notice I said it still says pending. Now once I hit OK, it'll pull up another screen that'll say success. So I'm gonna hit OK. Success, and loaded it. My document is now there. I'm leaving my occupants blank for now. Nothing on inspections. Contacts, this is where I'm going to put my contacts in, and we're going to create new contact. It's going to be Mr. Alright, business name, don't have to worry about it. Email, we don't have to worry about it. I can hit, if I want to put the address in there, I can do that. But you don't have to do that. Cell phone number, again, same thing, 229-869-0634. We're going to put that in there. Am I the building owner? We're actually going to say no, because if y'all know me, I actually rent my house. I don't actually buy it. But I am the business owner and my key holder, and my position is business owner. I'm going to hit OK. So y'all asked me, and then like you're at the business and you're like, well, do you have another contact? Yeah, sure. Anybody that can get in my house. It'll say yes. Do you want to save it? Because it's got to save the contact information. You hit yes. So now we're going to do this. First name is Stuart. Stuart's going to be my backup contact. I know y'all are probably laughing, but I did that on purpose. His address is actually going to be different. I'm just going to say his address is 450. I think it's Fairway Woods. I think that's the name. Woods Drive. And you don't have to put this in for him, but if you wanted to, if they gave you their address, then why not? Why not? Ozark, Alabama. And then his phone number, 334-525-8878. Actually, I don't know what Stuart's number is off the top of my head. He is not the building owner. He is not the business owner, but he is a key holder. He could get in my house if he wanted to. He is a, let's just put vice president. Even though Stuart can't get in my house, I'm just letting you know. All right, hit OK. All right, and now Stuart's in there as my backup contact, and he is number 2 contact for this. Okay. Now, if I'm doing this correctly, once I hit the X, it'll probably say, do you want to save changes? Yes, it will. See it? Okay, so you hit yes, save changes. It's got both my contacts in there. Tasks, don't have to worry about that. Incidents, I don't have to worry about that. So now I'm done with the right side of my screen. So now I'm going down here to pre-plan info, and I'm starting back up here at the top. Do I have any hazmat at my house? No, I don't. But if I did, I could put that in there. Do I have any sprinklers at my house? No, I don't. But if I did, I could get the information for my sprinklers. On-site materials, let's just say I have dairy products in bulk. I have them bulk. Yeah, you see, it won't let me choose more than one at a time. So I either have to put bulk or packaged goods for selling. Now, I could do dairy products as 2 different things. I could do dairy products as bulk, hit OK, and then I can also go back in there and do it again. Dairy products as packaged goods for selling. So now I have them for sale and I have them for bulk that is in there. So I just say I have dairy products. All right. So additional building information. If I hit add on my building information, I put construction type is going to be a slab. Actually, no, it's not going to. It's going to be a type 5. I'm sorry. Actually, normal construction. It would be, yeah, it would be type 5, but my house is block wall. Actually, I don't know that. That's a good question. Anyway, hit OK on that one. So I'm going to hit add again. Floor truss type. This is the one I was talking about, slab. Hit OK. Hit another one. Nearest hydrant location. If y'all want to look real quick, let me show you. Maps.google.com. Zoom into my house right here. We'll hit, there it is right here. I'll go to my satellite. And if y'all know, they just updated the street view for my house. See, I didn't check the hydrants. So, boy, look at that Georgia flag right there. There's actually a hydrant located right here in my residence. So I think the nearest hydrant location, if y'all were to want to look at the next hydrant location, it's right before the city limit sign. I think it's right here at the intersection of Johntown. Nope, I was mistaken. It may be the closest one is, or the backup one is down here on Bermuda. The actual one is right over that hill right there. There's a city limit sign you can see right there. But there's a hydrant right there. I thought for sure there was another one here. Anyway, so there's one in my yard. So nearest hydrant is going to be D.A. corner of house, approximately 30 feet. Now, in some instances, just say for instance, a good example of that is we may not be able to use that hydrant at all times because if the fire is hot enough and large enough, it may actually be too close to the residence to use it. But this is a somewhat realistic expectation because the next hydrant may be several hundred feet down the road. All right, so this is going. Actually, I'm gonna do X and see. I'm gonna copy that here, and this is going to be my number 1 hydrant. Hit OK. I don't really have a number 2 at this house, so that's just part of being in the county. All right, I'm gonna hit add next. Roof truss type. It's going to be wood stick, and it's not wood truss. So I'm going to hit OK, hit add again. Setback from the street, and if anybody knows, I'm going to show y'all real quick how far my house sets off from the street right here. Measure distance to the front of my door, 19 feet from Highway 27. 19 feet. Okay. Hit add again. Okay, I think I've got all that entered in. Hit cancel. So everything in here is entered in. Additional building information is good. Click that again, and all that is done. So pre-fire plan is completed. And then if I want to take a quick look at it, I can hit this right here. And if I want to put hazmat sprinklers, I can right there. If I want to do a pre-plan description, let's just say, let's go back to pre-plan information, go to overview. And in overview, this is where you do pre-plan description and special instructions. And why that is important is, let's just hit OK. I've already showed you this once, but pre-plan information goes here. And then special instructions will go right under it, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. Go back to that. Click this. Pre-plan, wood cedar located on roof, block, I think cinder block is spelled cinder block, wall throughout. Okay, special instructions is slab floor. I mean, it could be anything from slab floor and approximately 70 years old construction. All right, hit OK. And again, anytime you add something, you have to go back in here and reload it. So, pre-plan description, cedar, and notice how the special instructions box popped up. A while ago, you couldn't even see this box until you put something in there. So that's where that shows, and that's where that shows. So now, Tucker's Business, Dowling 2 block, address, got it right here. Special instructions and pre-plans right here. All this is entered in. You know, it's got my enclosed. No, it's not under. It's enclosed building. It's in normal use. It's a bar, 1 story above, 0 below, 1,000 square feet. Gives me the length and feet and width. Key box is front porch under the mat. There's an extra key. Business hours. I'm open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, which is terrible hours for a bar. I've only got 2 employees. Here's my phone number. No fire alarm panel, no FTC, no PIV, no standpipe, gas shutoff B-side near side entrance, electrical box B-side near porch, roof access, there's not, no sprinkler access, no fire alarm. There's a dry chemical system located for kitchen hood suppression is present in the kitchen. There is detectors present, battery only, smoke near front entrance inside. And then all that additional information that I put in, what type of construction is a type 5, floor truss type's a slab. There's 1 hydrant that's on the DA corner of the house, wood stick truss, 19 feet setback. I've got on-site dairy products, so evidently at this bar I sell a lot of dairy products, so cheese and milk and cream cheese and yogurt, you know, that's what this bar sells. No hazmat, no sprinklers, and then down here at the very bottom it's got me as a contact, Stuart as a backup contact. So that's it. Alright, so let's transition this business from active to inactive. So this is my business, the one we just did, everything that we just went over. So let's get out of this screen, and what we're going to do here is we know that Tucker's Business is about to close down. Evidently, dairy products and my hours of operation probably led to my business failure for being a bar and nightclub, okay? So we're going to move from this being inactive to inactive. So first thing what I'll do is I'm going to put, let's go back to my locations and go to location info. You want to see these tabs right here. You want to see documents, occupants. So what I'll do is I'm going to go to occupants here, and I'm going to hit add, just like we did last year. And I'm going to populate from location. And what it's going to populate is the address, name, ID, FIN, and all that, and hit OK. Notice it didn't populate the documents over here to the side, nor my contacts. You're going to populate your document for this business in here, same thing as you would, and you're going to move your contacts from that business to in here to occupation. So whenever we did this business, if we wanted to put in a start date, like whenever we do a new business, if you want to put a start date in there, you can, but it's not really that important. So we're just going to put the start date as 2/20/2023, and then we're going to put today's date as the end date. All right. So we know that this business started on 2/20, and then it ended on 3/6/2023. I put my contacts in here, which it doesn't show, but just imagine with me that my contacts are here and my drawing is in here. All that information is in here. And under notes, if there was something specific about that business from the old business that we wanted to transport into the new business, say for instance, there's a secret wall behind here that this owner told us about that we want to remember, but we don't want to get rid of yet. We can put that in occupant notes just to keep it as something special, you know, secret wall behind restroom on seaside of structure. Okay, and the owner told us about that. You know, I'm crazy like that. I put a secret wall behind my restroom. I mean, in case he's crazy, Tucker's crazy. I mean, he'll do something like that, you know. So we can. Oh, let's do this right here. I want to do this. Okay. All right. So and if you do populate from maintenance location, the pre-action plan that we did, all those pre-action plans that we did will actually populate in here whenever a business closes down, which is great because it just gives us more information. So the occupation or the occupant is now loaded, right? So if I go back to view location, I'm back at my main screen, And I look over here and it says I have 0 occupants. And you're like, what happened? I just put this information in. Why is it not showing? Did I not save it? Well, you did everything right. There's nothing wrong, and don't be alarmed. If I go over here, you'll see that there's nothing in occupants. But you see up here it says current. If you hit all, it'll show you that there's an occupant here for Tucker's Business that you put in occupants. You did everything right. But it shows a start date and an end date. The only thing it shows by default is current occupants. So if you hit all, you can go into this and you can see the occupant that you put in there. And what it will do is that it's going to pull everything up like it needs to be. So again, with this occupant here, you just need to make sure that you don't freak out. You did everything right. Once your information is inloaded into occupant, you need to remember that, like I said, you need to make sure you populate your document from location into documents, into the occupant documents. The best way to do that I've seen, there's nothing that you can hit a button to automatically populate. It will not transfer files from the location that you see here from this document into your occupant documents. So just make sure that you have to, what you'll have to do is you have to go back to location, go to your documents, download it to the computer that you're on, save it, and then come back to your occupants and put the drawing in there. Once your information has been moved from location into occupant, you moved all your documents in there that you needed in your contacts from your old business. What you can do is you're gonna just save it, and then you're gonna go back to view location, and you're gonna again see that it doesn't show an occupant. But the reason why that is because once an occupant is ended, it doesn't show current. But if you just hit all, it'll show up all current and previous occupants. So don't be alarmed whenever you save all that. Put the end date in there. It will not show occupant for any if it has an end date in there. You have to hit all under this. Okay. So what you'll do then is you can change that business to vacant, right? And then you're going to go to, all this is going to stay the same, the contact information, and you're going to go to building information, and then you're going to change this from in normal use to how it's going to be vacant. Is it going to be vacant secured, or is it going to be vacant unsecured? So it's just meaning that if it's unsecured, it means anybody can get into it without a specific key or some kind of entry point in there. And it's going to be up to your discretion if you would consider it secured or unsecured. So, and you could also, if you wanted to, this will be the instance where we could put being demolished. Say the business is going to be demolished, but we don't know when, and the building, and it may just be something that's just going to sit there and it could be in disrepair. Again, that's just going to be a judgment call. All right. So we're just going to put vacant and secured for this reasoning. And then all the rest of it's going to stay the same from what my walking around system is. You're not going to change anything out of this. All of this is going to stay the same. Even the building notes will stay the same. Okay. So we've done all this information, and all this information that we need, the information that we need is going to be located in the previous occupants over here. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to transition some time. We're going to give a time gap, and then a new business is going to come in here. And say Skinner bought the business. It's going to be Skinner's business now. Okay, and then we're going to change that to active. We're going to take vacant out of it, and then we're going to go to next, and we're going to change the information. If it's going to be in the same building, chances are the address is going to stay the same as well. Make sure that if a new business comes into an old business, that we change the mailing address if it's different. You'll see that on your pre-fire plan. Easiest thing to do whenever a new business comes in, instead of doing it over the phone, it's best just to go out there and do the whole pre-fire plan in person. That way you can do a walking around experience. You can compare the old drawings to the new drawings and make sure there's no difference. Change the phone number, because the phone number will be different for the new business. That will stay the same. Location notes, remember, don't put anything in location notes. It's not going to show anything. Then you're going to change this. You're going to change it to whatever it needs to be changed to. Change this to whatever it needs to be changed to. If it's under construction, major renovation, whatever it is, we'll just put back in normal use. what kind it is, and then you're going to change this because sometimes it's not going to be the same. So Stuart's going to put in, it's going to be a bowling alley is the example I'm going to use here. All this information is going to change. Well, not necessarily. Some of this information will change. Say there's a key box that changes. They may put a standpipe in. Doubtful, okay. But you know what I'm talking about. This stuff could change. They could change where the electrical box is if they do any renovation, stuff like that. So make sure you go in through this and change that if need be. That will probably stay the same. This will more than likely stay the same unless they do an addition. And then, your automatic extinguishing systems. This is why it's important to leave the old information, because you know that the old system had a kitchen hood suppression. So if you go into it and you say, well, it shows y'all had a kitchen hood suppression, and then you can change that. Okay. So make sure you're also updating the detectors as well. And you're going to definitely update the building notes, which is going to be your business hours, your number of employees, and that as well. You're going to take this and you're going to X out it. You're going to delete the old maintenance forms, because this maintenance form, remember, is going to be in the old occupant. So you can actually hit add to whatever you're doing. And if they say, well, when was the last time it was pre-fire planned or any kind of maintenance was done on it prior to this business? Well, we have it over in occupants now. We can go look at that. So that's part of the reason why having accurate notes is good, because we can tell the current owner or chief or ISO, whoever's asking, we can say, well, before this business, this was the last time that pre-fire plan was done. So, and again, if that building is going to be vacant for, say, 2 years, a lot of times we're unable to get into that business. And unless sometimes the building owners are going to, help us out and let us in those buildings. But if we do a pre-fire plan, maybe right before the business leaves, and if we're doing it every year, there's a good chance that we're going to be in these buildings. If they become vacant, we're going to be in those buildings within a year before they leave. So it's going to be pretty recent. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The documents, this is going to be the old document. And if you've done everything correctly, this is the one that you downloaded onto the system and then reloaded into your occupant documents. So you're going to delete this and you're going to add your new drawing once you have it. And then occupants is going to stay the same. Now what you can do here is you can hit add on this, put the start date of the new business and just put the start date, and then you can populate from location. Okay. Then you can go in here and make sure all this is current and correct for your new business that you have. You see it already changed the number for me. Don't have to do that. Don't have to do occupant notes. Not yet. You can populate your maintenance from location, which you're not going to have yet. And then you're going to save this until this business goes out of business or whatever, because it's all going to be in location. And then make sure that you can actually populate the new drawing over here if you want to, which you don't have to. But mainly what you're going to do here is you're going to you can keep the contacts at 0, and you can hit save. And this is what I really want to show you. I can go back to view location. Now it does say I have one occupant. What's I saying is I have one current occupant. I can hit all. And this is where it gets to where how the system is supposed to be used. I had Tucker's business from 220 to 3.6, and then Skinner started on 3.8 and is current now. Once I get that new drawing from Skinner, I can go back, and if I wanted to, I could look at this drawing versus the old drawing that we had to see if there's any changes. And if there is, but we didn't really recognize any, that's something that we can compare if we want to look at both the businesses. Okay, that's why I want to show you that is how occupants are supposed to be used. Occupants are for informational purposes, for us to keep track of stuff that's in the past. So just wanted to make sure you guys understand that. But once you start the new business, you're basically going back over a new pre-fire plan, and you change all the information in the location. You can hit occupant and add it to add the current occupant to that business. That way, whenever that business goes out, the only thing you have to do is go in there and put an end date, save it, make sure your document, and make sure your contacts are transferred from the location into the occupant. And then you can put vacant in here. if that business is going to be vacant forever or for a long time, and change your status information under building information. You can change the building status. You have to change that. But that's all you have to do. And then whenever we go look up that business, it'll have it in there. And ISO will probably want to know certain things about that, because they can randomly pull any business if they wanted to and say, give me the information on this business, and I want you to, if you can, tell me what's going on with this business. So if there's not any questions further, again, on this portion right here, this is kind of confusing or can get complicated, but please ask me about that. I'll be happy to go into detail with that. But if you want me to go into detail about this right here specifically, let's do it as a shift. I don't want to come tell one person, tell your officer, tell your captain, whoever it is, and say, I have a question about this. Is this something that you can help me with? Or is this something that I need to ask Tucker about? Because if it is, I would like to go over in person. Okay. One last thing that I'll add to the making transitioning businesses from one to the other. I'm going to give the example of Walmart. Say Walmart closes down for a while. We had it vacant, and we had it vacant in here as Walmart. We loaded the occupant for Walmart because it closed down, and maybe it has been closed for 6 or 7 months, right? Well, just say Kmart, randomly, I'm just using this example, came in and bought Walmart, and they're going to use that building now. That's a big building, right? So we're going to have a drawing saved for Walmart that will be in occupants like we had told you how to transfer over. But the reason why we don't really want to change any of the old information from Walmart to Kmart, the contacts and all that stuff, is because before we change it to Kmart, what we can do is use this overview page to our advantage. We can take that overview page, which is going to be our print button, and we can print all this out real quick before we even go out to Kmart. We can take this with us out to Kmart. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the written copy of our pre-fire plan that we're going to fill out. It's going to be a blank business. It's going to be a new business. But we're going to have this as a guide. And the reason why we're using this as a guide is because for most of your big businesses, your sprinklers, your gas shutoffs largely will remain the same. And I'm talking about those two as an example. There's other things that will remain the same as well. So if we do the new pre-fire plan and we're looking at, just say for instance, we're looking at something that may not add up correctly. Okay, so, and I'll give this for a quick example. Say that we ask them that, say there is information in here for a key box. Say that Walmart has a key box, just outside the left front entrance of the building. But you go and ask the new businesses, yeah, we don't have a key box. You're like, okay, well, I'll just notate that in there. If I look back at my old business and it says from Walmart it had a key box, you could go back to the new business and say, hey, the old business had a key box at this facility and this is where it was located. And they're like, oh, really? And you're like, yeah, have you checked it? And I'm like, no, we haven't checked it. And they go out there and say, okay, well, we can use this as a key box. So you're essentially saving yourself time. But before we change the information from the old business to the new business, it would be a good habit to actually print this out so that you can use this versus your old business to see if, for the most part of it, there's no huge differences from the old to the new that you could say, well, I may need to take note of that, right? And again, I'm going to give you a perfect example. You see where it says floor truss type is a slab. Well, if you go back out to the new business and it's a truss floor now, this is not realistic, but I'm just using it as an example. You can say, well, you list this as a truss or as a crawl space. The old system says it's a slab. Did y'all put a crawl space in here? It's not necessarily challenging them, but it's challenging us to do more accurate pre-fire plans. Okay, and again, purely informational, but this is us getting used to doing pre-fire plans better. The big advantage to doing it that way, to using this old pre-fire plan to assist in the new business, and we want to go out and do this pre-fire plan, Say for instance, the person that's there probably doesn't know a lot, or the manager may not be there. And you can say, well, we'll get as much as we can from the old pre-fire plan. Now, this can actually be used as our walking around, as our experience. Say we may not need somebody to show us everything. You can tell the business, like, well, we've got most of the information from the old business. We're just going to make sure everything's still in line to where you can do this pre-fire plan pretty much on your own. And in the, for instance, that we're not being able to be assisted by somebody that works there, we can use this as experience from the past, and this could actually aid in doing a pre-fire plan quicker and not having to rely on the person that's there. We can use the old experience for that. All right, if you will, open up your laptop, and I want you to pull up just a blank or a random pre-fire plan. It doesn't matter which one it is, but I want to go over the written pre-fire plans real quick. Pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully I won't have to explain a whole lot to you, but just in case you do, let's go over it just real quick. I've got both of them pulled up here. Here's page 1, as you can see on the side, on the top up here, and here's page 2. Mainly what I did is I just kind of moved everything around on the pre-fire plan so everything flows together. The old pre-fire plans was missing some things, and it just wasn't flowing together. I think there were some things that were out of place, and then whenever you went to go to put in a pre-fire plan, you were flipping over pages and trying to find things. So this just kind of flows. This flows with how it shows in Elite. So just put your date, your shift, and your officer up here at the top, kind of keeping things in order. But on the first tab, it's going to be, this is going to go under your location info where it says general. And it's broken down. It says location info up here at the top, which is your main tabs. You're going to be your blue tabs are going to be in black up here. And then the sub tabs under those tabs where it says general, address, business contact information. You can see all this over here in Elite. That's going to be on your left side. So it's broken down. Black location information is going to be your main tabs. The gray are going to be your sub tabs under those. And anytime it moves over to another black, you should be moving on to the next tab. All right. So it just kind of flows better under, like if you see under building information, we didn't have any of this before whenever we were doing our pre-fire plans. We really couldn't notate that while we were on site. But basically everything that you put into here will be able to translate easily over into Elite. I'm trying to make sure that you just read the italicized things right here. It kind of explains things a little bit more in detail. Anytime you see other, of course, it gives you the option to write just in case for whatever instance that you don't have a selection of what I did in here. Just circle it, if you could just circle what you got, because basically what you're going to do is you're going to transfer this information over into Elite. You can keep these if you want to for whatever reason. You don't have to. We're trying to get away from paper. But until we get used to just going to a business and pulling a computer up, paper may be the best way. And honestly, after redoing these, I may go back to paper to do this way and just translate it whenever I get back to the station into Elite. It's probably going to be faster to do it that way. I don't know if y'all knew it last year, but whenever we were trying to do it on a laptop, we had to carry a hotspot with us, and we ended up leaving a hotspot at a business and didn't realize it until I think the day later or something. And then, we ended up having a new hotspot because it's got to be hooked up to the internet while you're in the business. So it gives us more information. This flows. It goes, just say you're looking at Elite. Starts at top left, it goes all the way down to building info, and then building info maintenance right here is where it cuts off top left, and then you see it jumps all the way down to contacts right here, which is going to be on the kind of like mid right level over there, mainly because if there's not a blank here, then you really either you're not asking the questions or putting in Elite, or there's just not a way to put stuff in here. And then contacts, I think, is the only thing that's going to be located on the right over here that you're going to put in while stuff that you're going to write down, because then it jumps to hazmat. But hazmat's going to be in pre-plan info. It gives you 3 different options here for hazmat. Quickly, I'm going to go over this. If you have the hazmat ID, or if it's written there on site, you can put that there. Put the name of what it is. The container type is going to be like a drum, 5-gallon bucket, silo, whatever it is. If it's going to be a solid, liquid, or gas. Container size, which will be notated with the material. And container material it's not repeating of what the name of it is. Container material is actually what the container is made out of, like steel, plastic, or other of what's going to be listed in Elite. So that's what you're going to put in here if you have a hazmat. On-site materials is the same thing as in Elite. quickly. It's just anything else you would notate on scene that you would consider a fire hazard as far as materials, not equipment. So it would be like large documents or a big box or a room full of just nothing but paper goods or something like that. You can put that in here, and it has plenty of options in Elite. I couldn't really fit all this. I tried to fit it all on 2 pages is what I was trying to do. The overview is still under pre-plan information. It's just above. And you have 2 different sections. You're going to have pre-plan descriptions where you're going to add your exposures. Slight change to what I said earlier. I do remember we're going to put exposures in pre-plan description. And then in special instructions, we're going to put any equipment hazards that we notate or any other hazards on site that we want to notate, or just anything else that you don't have a spot for here to notate. You can notate under special instructions, and then you'll just relay that information into overview. And then lastly, the additional building information is going to be the one with the building on to the side down there. It's going to be kind of like mid-screen on your left. But it's going to be the bottom tab before you switch back over to location information. And then it tells you what your construction type is going to be type 1 through 5, floor truss type, slab, truss, crawl space, whatever it is. Roof truss type is going to be flat, metal, gable, truss, wood stick, whatever the roof's made out of, setback from the street, self-explanatory. And then you're going to put your hydrant locations. And I gave you enough space to put 3 hydrants just in case you want to put 3. You don't have to have 3. Like I said, 3 is great, 2 is recommended, 1's definitely unnecessary. Any questions about that, I'll go over the paper copy with you, but hopefully you guys can understand that. Okay, so we're looking at this and you're asking, why am I doing it this way? Why now? Why haven't we done this already? Well, instead of me coming to talk to everybody of how to do this, and then as soon as you leave you forget half of it, well, everything should be on a video format to where you can go back and review it. You can rewind it, see how it's done until you get used to doing it, but it's basically just to put everybody up to the same standards, everybody's been trained the same way, nobody has any questions. If somebody says, well, I don't know how to do that, or I wasn't shown how to do that, or I'm not too comfortable using a computer. Well, I mean, it's 2023. Everybody has a smartphone. Nobody seems to have a problem using a smartphone because you have to use it every day. Well, computers are the same way, and I think a lot of times, this is just my opinion, I feel like some people, not all, I can tell the difference. Some people say that, well, I don't know how to do that, and just use it as an excuse to where they don't have to do it. Well, it's not really going to be the case moving forward, because everybody really needs to be putting forth as much effort as they can to get everything done. I mean, we're already running at just over minimum staffing, or pretty low staffing, so everybody's got to do their fair share, and that just means in everything. So I want to do this so that the people that are just don't really feel comfortable doing it, well, now you can start trying to do it and to help out the people that are around you. So everybody needs to know how to do pre-fire plans correctly, because it's going to help everybody out in the future. It's something that has to be done every year, and it's done got to the point to now where pre-fire plans are about 15 to 16 years behind where we need to be to catch up, mainly just to the minimum standards. And if we're keen about getting these pay raises, bringing businesses in to where we can get more people, I mean, ISO is a big part of that, and pre-fire plans is an important part of ISO. So we got to make sure that we do our jobs like we're supposed to, and this is just one of those things. Also, we're going to move into this. We're doing it this way because on the Elite, because it's more accurate information. It's basically just a fill, Elite's saying, hey, here's a slot, fill it in. So that's why it's doing it this way. And the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I spent some time over the past year of learning what Elite is asking us so that we can figure out how to put it in accurately. You're not going to be required to do pre-fire plans within a month or two, to where you're not out trying to do 5 and 6 pre-fire plans a day. You're going to have all year to do it. Now this year, we're going to give you the pre-fire plans probably around summertime, hopefully, if we get everything set up. But we're actually going to give you, I'm going to talk to Danny about it, but we're going to give you the whole rest of the year to do it. And then if you need more time, we're going to give you more time until everybody's all caught up to speed. Don't wait until December whenever these pre-fire plans are done and you're going to look, it's like, well, we've had troubles doing this and we don't know how to do that. Or, you know, there's no reason why you have to wait so long to say, well, we don't know what we're doing. So you don't have that excuse anymore to say, well, we don't know how to do Excel drawings, or we don't know how to load it into the system correctly. Everybody has their fair shake at it, and if you have any questions, you can go back and watch this video on what I did and how I sorted through this stuff and what I entered to get it done correctly. But you'll have all year to do it. There's not going to be a set time frame anymore, other than you're going to have from January to December to get it done. It's going to be the same way every year. We're hopefully, I've been talking to Chief Martins about it, to hopefully get this to where dispatch has access to it, to where they have access to the main page, just like the summary page. They can give us that information over the radio if we ask for it, mainly for hydrants, because if we're going to a business and we have time and we can tell dispatch, hey, if you have the pre-fire plan pulled up, can you give us our #1 hydrant? And that'll mainly be for our number 2 in truck, so they know which hydrant to get to. But just hopefully dispatch will have access to this information. It's going to be easier to keep track with. We're not going to be doing the same thing year in and year out. If you do it correctly last year and put everything in like it's supposed to be, then next year you're not going to have to do that. The only thing you're going to have to do is contact the business to find out if anything has changed. And if it has, then you update it. Mainly you're just contacting to make sure the contact information is going to remain the same, and you're going to contact them about if they, any construction has been done, do we need to do drawings. But keeping track of that information, along with me updating the pre-fire plans, which I'm about to get into, there's going to be a list, like I did last year. I gave everybody a list of questions to ask to update the pre-fire plans. Well, this one will be done the same way, but it's going to be more accurate. Last year was just a test sheet. Pushed it out super quick. I was trying to get it out in time for pre-fire plans. It was rushed, I know. And I already knew last year, I said, I know it's going to be changed next year, but we got to get something out there to get people used to it. Mainly just getting your feet wet. But if this is easier to keep track with, meaning also you can put in there to make it easier overall, is a year or two down the road when everybody's used to the system, everybody knows how to enter it in correctly. Then, say for instance, you have a list of, just say 100 businesses, and you call all 100 businesses. More than likely about 80 of those businesses, the only thing that'll change is just the bare minimum, like contact information you'll have to change, but everything else is going to remain the same. So are you really going to need to go out there and contact that business? Are you really going to need to go out there and talk to that business? Probably not. You can go out there and talk to them now if you want to, because in the past we have used pre-fire plans as training. Like, we went out and did pre-fire plans and we consider that training. But I want to clarify that pre-fire plans themselves are not training. If we get done with pre-fire plans and we notate that, hey, we need to go out to this business because of this, that's what we're using the training for. Say, we're going to go out there and we're going to do an in-service for a fire hydrant or for a fire extinguisher. That's the training that we're doing, is the fire extinguisher. The actual calling the businesses, doing the pre-fire plans is not training. We can't use that as training. It's not supposed to be meant as used as training. But the actual activity of what we're doing is the training themselves. So out of those 100 businesses, 80 of them are probably not much is going to change. So we're just going to update the information in the system, and we can do that over the phone if we want to. Those other 20 businesses, say something has changed, or we need to go out there and look at something. We have more time to do that now for a couple of reasons. A, we're not trying to do it during a specific time frame, and B, we're going to have most of the mundane, everyday stuff that changes during pre-fire plans. All that's going to be done, so we can actually focus on the things that we need to focus on when it comes to the businesses themselves. meaning more accurate data. We have more time to do a pre-fire plan. If we actually went out and did a Walmart pre-fire plan, it would probably take us about half a day to do it accurately, to look at the sprinkler systems, to get our hands on that stuff. And guess what, guys? The only thing I've ever heard of is whenever I've been here is like, let's try to get out of the station more to be more active in the community. And then whenever it's like, oh, let's go do pre-fire plans. All right, well, let's get this knocked out as soon as we can. I mean, you're contradicting yourself saying that you want to go do the firefighter stuff, but you don't want to do pre-fire plans. You don't want to actually go out there and look at this stuff that we're supposed to do. Now, I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but I mean, I have seen it in the past. People kind of, only do pre-fire plans halfway because they just want to get it done. Because you feel like you need to get it done because there's a deadline. Well, the deadline is now gone. You just have to get it done, before the year's up. And it will show in the system. We're going to know if you've done it or not because everything's going to, like I showed you, everything's going to be notated. All right. Sorry. The written copies that you can actually handwrite out will be better. They're going to actually be just moved everything around to where it's going to flow on your pre-fire plan. The first page is going to start where it's supposed to start based on where the computer starts, and it's all going to flow accordingly. So each tab's going to flow, and you should have an example of that. I haven't written it out yet, but I'm going to have an example of it before we present this to you. So you should have the written copies in front of you. If not, you've already reviewed them. So that will be it as well. And also the part of the written copies, like I said, the questions that you'll need to ask year in and year out, if nothing is changed, those will be written out as well in case you want to know what to ask. Okay. Easier to keep up with new businesses. We've talked to, well, we haven't talked to yet, but we're going to talk to the business license office. Hopefully they have a easier way to inform us whenever there's a new business that comes into town. Either email us the name of the business and the address, and we can do it as new businesses come in. And based on where they're located, if they're right slab in the middle of, a good example of that is whenever somebody takes over Dirt Cheap. Basically, who's ever doing Martindale Plaza is going to take that responsibility for that pre-fire plan. So whoever has that block for the year, you're just going to say, hey, this business just came in, they're ready for a pre-fire plan, just go do it whenever. And it's going to be up to the officer to keep track of when and how they're going to be able to go do that pre-fire plan. And that, I'll give a better example of that. Jameson's, that's going to be right there next to the Piggly Wiggly. Also, the pickleball court probably hasn't had a pre-fire plan done on it. And I think the Church of You has had one done on it. But we're going to have one person do, or one group at one station do that whole strip. So we know Jameson's is coming in. I'm pretty sure that they've probably gotten a business license already. And then a real life example of that, say the business office would have already emailed Danny, because that's who our contact's going to be for pre-fire plans, say, hey, Jameson's, they got a business license, here's their address. They should have a contact number for the owner of that business, for that business license. They can send us all that information as well. What Danny's going to do, he's going to look and say, well, let's see who's got Piggly Wiggly. And, he's like, all right. So I'm just throwing out examples, say, Doobie will have the Piggly Wiggly strip. I know let me use a better example. It would either be Berg, Wozo, or real life scenario. I think if we had all three stations, it would probably be Pooh Bear would be at Dallin. So it would either be one of them three would have it. So Danny would go to just say Wozo and say, hey Wozo, you got Piggly Wiggly? Jameson's going in, get the pre-fire plan done, needs to be done by the end of the year. So Wozo writes it down, contacts the owner and says, hey man, so-and-so, and Wozo from, Lieutenant Wozo from, who's our fire department, need to do a pre-fire plan on your building. When y'all open it up, when can we come in and check it out? Okay, and he'll tell you, I'm gonna get 2 months, 2 months down the road, we should be able to do it, all right? Well, it's up to Wozo in 2 months to go follow up. However he keeps track of it, he needs to go in and follow up in 2 months. Put it on your calendar, write a note, whatever. But it's going to be easier to do new businesses rather than having to do them all at once. We can do them as they come in. All right. Hopefully this will also mitigate on-scene issues for shorter response times, and add to that, mitigate on-scene issues for shorter scene times. Moto-Built was one, having to wait out there for an hour and a half for somebody to come open the gate. Of course, that has been resolved. We got the information in the system, but on Christmas Day this past year, we had to go to Walmart, and Walmart was closed on Christmas Day, and it was freezing cold that day, and they had a busted pipe in the garden center. And on the way over there, I think, if I remember correctly, I couldn't remember if Judd had actually called dispatch to say, hey, because normally our first thing is if a business is closed, we're en route to Walmart, and usually the officer or the IC was like, have you contacted the owner of the business to get somebody here? And when we were riding over there, I said, I think we got the contact information for Walmart. And right when we pulled up, I pulled up the pre-fire plan, pulled up the overview, and sure enough, I had 3 contacts from Walmart. And I said, hey, here's contacts. Let me try to call them. And within 5 to 10 minutes, we had a couple people on the phone. And within about 20 minutes, we had somebody there to let us in. And then within about 30 minutes, we were able to get the issue resolved, and we were clear. We didn't have to wait that long to go and get everything finished, to be on scene. Now, if we had to wait for Walmart to call somebody, who knows what contact information they have? We don't know who dispatch, where they get their information from, and who knows if that information is accurate. Who knows? Why rely on dispatch whenever we can rely on ourselves, and have dispatch rely on us for something that we're supposed to be responsible for anyway? So mitigating issues for shorter scene times and response times hopefully is one reason. And then, like I said, more accurate information from dispatch while we're on scene. So IC can report back to dispatch if we're on scene for a hazmat incident, and we're not able to access our computer for some reason, or say the IC's in the middle of a large store and we don't know where the gas shutoff is, and we don't want to walk all the way back to the truck. Well, if dispatch has access to Elite, we can just say, Walmart command or 231 command to dispatch, can you tell us where the gas shutoff is, where we've notated the gas shutoff? And they can say, yeah, it's right on the seaside of the building, what y'all notated. And I was like, all right, well, we'll go find it. Something like that. It's just that quick. We don't have to worry about delay. Thanks, guys, for listening to the video. Hopefully I didn't get too drawn out. I'm going to put the timestamps here at the end as well for the video layout, and that way you can either see it from the beginning or the end. Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. If you really are having troubles with trying to do something, or you're still having troubles trying to enter something in or transfer data over, feel free to ask me or ask anybody. But I should be able to help you for the most part if you're having real struggles with this, trying to get a pre-fire plan entered in. So that's the end of the video. Please go back, and now you should be able to watch this in segments based on what you're trying to accomplish. And again, I know this is a long video, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.